Yo guys, Andrew from Collective Intelligence here on ADSR Sounds. And today we are going to be playing around with Ableton. We're going to use Ableton in a generative sort of way. We want Ableton to come up with ideas for us to use in our music. So if I jump over to Ableton, let's have a look at what we got. So I'm sitting here in the session view. What I've prepared already is I've pulled in a bunch of drum patterns. They sound like this. Let's check that my audio is working. Cool. So I got a drum loop. I got some vocal stuff. I made a little chord progression, and I just got a straight kick drum. And what we're going to start doing is we're going to start looking at ways that we can use Ableton in the session view to randomize stuff and to come up with ideas. So we'll start by looking at the drum loop and looking at follow actions and what that is. And then we're going to throw a bunch of stuff on it. So we're not necessarily going to be working on what you'd call making a track. We're more making ideas that could lead to the beginning of a track. And I've got some cool artificial intelligence stuff to show you from Google as well. You may have seen that already, but I'll show you how to use it in a pretty tame way. So say hello in the chat, ask me questions as I'm going along. I'll do my best to answer them as fully as I can. And just, again, my name is Andrew, and I'm from the YouTube channel Collective Intelligence. So let's start by taking a look at this drum loop. So I've got a couple different versions of it, right? So it's actually a 4-bar long pattern. And I've taken it and I'm looping the first section of it here for 1 bar. I'm looping the 2nd bar, the 3rd bar, and the 4th bar. Right? And they're all on different channels. They're on different clips. And I can trigger them and play them. And if you're not familiar with Ableton Session View, you're about to get familiar with it. So what I can do here is I can select the drum loops that I want, and I can see that there's a launch mode here. You only see this when you're in the session view, right? If I jumped over to the arrangement view, it's not there. G'day Dash and 3rd string music. We got Beats by Equation and Sammy Prince. Sup Lemon Me, how's it going? And we got Raj on Facebook. Sup guys? So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll turn the follow action on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say other. And I'll explain to you what this means. So when I've got clips all lined up right next to each other, right? So this is an Ableton Live clip. In this case, it's got audio inside of it. If I press play here, you'll notice that that clip started playing. Now this one's playing. Now this one's playing again. Now that one's playing, right? So it's starting to randomize the playback. Just automatically, it's following its own nose, right? And if I put this one down here, the number 2, at some point it may play it, but because there's no follow action actually set up on that clip, it's gonna stop, right? It's gonna play and then it's not gonna go anywhere because we don't have, it's just gonna loop actually, there you go. So these ones we'll keep aside. We'll focus on just using these ones now. And we're going to see how crazy we can get the follow action stuff going because we're dealing with breaks. Can we do something pretty interesting with it? So if we select them all again, we could say, let's go back with that, back to 1. And let's say that we're going to do it over a shorter period of time, right? So what we're looking at here is bars, beats, and 16th notes, okay? So if you don't know the way that Ableton's showing our divisions, the first box is bars, second box is beats, third box is 16th. So let's turn it down a little bit quicker, right? So now it's starting to move through much quicker. Change it on the fly. Doesn't look like I've done it to all of them. Cool, so we're starting to get some pretty nice chops up in there. And what we can do at this point is we can be happy with what we've done. Some people might be happy with that. But what we want to do is we want to introduce more chaos. We want Ableton to make more random possibilities for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab a beat repeat. And there it is, already starting to do its work. And what we can do is we can put a bit of decay on it. So when it is acting, the repeated parts in that beat repeat decay off in volume. You can hear it, you heard it on the snare just then. What we can do is we can make it happen more often with more variations. Let's get it working, come on. Cool. Cool, we'll put the filter on too. Cool, so we're able to start making random glitching happening in there. We can decide that we want more than that, so let's go ahead and put 2. Now that's getting quite interesting, huh? Just playing around. We can make the pitch decay on it. Right, just using the beat repeat. And we can turn those on and off as we like to introduce that to the sound. Cool, so that's a first example of how we can start using something that's built into Ableton to start randomly making stuff happen. So next, what I'm going to show you is something that maybe we'll use in collaboration with what we got the drums. Maybe we'll leave the drums all together. Just got this kick drum playing here. And it would be nice if we could maybe make a melody or something to go along with this, but for whatever reason, maybe we're just really lacking any sort of inspiration to make a melodic riff. So what I've got here is, this is made by Google. It's called Magenta Studio, and they made a Max for Live device where you are basically able to generate ideas, make things groove, make stuff drumified, interpolate or continue ideas, right? So let's generate an idea, and I'm going to show you how this works. So here we are, we've got it open in front of us, and this is designed to be used when you are in the session view. We come to melody here, because let's say we want to produce a melodic idea, and I can choose whatever track I want that to load into. Let's say melodic ideas, and we'll say clip slop 1. And let's say we want it to make 16 variations of this melodic idea that it's going to try and come up with, right? So I'm going to click generate. It's going to output 16 clips into clip slot 1 all the way through to, where are we? 16. Cool. So what do they look like? What do they sound like? That's a good question. So I couldn't figure out a way that you could get Magenta to lock into a scale or a key. It seems like it's just chromatic. It'll play whatever it wants. So then I thought, all right, straight away, we can have Magenta eject all of these random notes for us, but then we can put it through Ableton's scale device. It's a MIDI device. So this is going to take any note that's played and change it so that it's in the correct key. And I'm using G minor. The device says C minor. I've pulled that in. I've changed the bass note to G, right? So let's have a listen. That could be goofy. We'll listen with the kick drum because I'm sort of thinking of this in a context of a 4/4 kick pattern, such as like a techno beat or a house beat or something like this. So we'll play a nice kick. Woo! And we'll get our melodic ideas. Oh, it would probably be a good idea if we had a sound that would go with that, huh? So let's go ahead and go, what do I want? Let's go serum. Cannot listen to it if we don't have a sound. Oh, that's pleasant. Right, so here we go. We're listening to a computer-generated melody. Do we like it? I don't know. So we could do the follow action thing with this as well. We could get them to follow each other and play different variations. But what we could do is I'm going to show you like the full features of these generative devices that Google have made for us. So we got this going. Maybe we like it, maybe we don't. Right? That instrument's okay. What else can we put with it? What octave are we in? We're up real high. That's another thing that's just kind of makes it across like random, across a random octave. Okay, so we got a question on Facebook. What is a good setup for a beginner? Ooh, mate, I've got a good answer for that. So a good setup for a beginner, it depends how serious you want to be with it, dude. So obviously I don't want to encourage you to go and buy all of this gear that, you know, maybe won't always get utilized. So if you're, you know, quite serious about it, there's something kind of interesting happening in this melody, I feel. It's going to be hard to multitask and answer the question and try and keep moving this along at the same time. But dude, you should definitely take a look at some Audio-Technica headphones, the M50X. They're just great headphones. So if you can't buy monitors, get those headphones. A Scarlett interface, brilliant. Let's listen to this one. Right, so it's just kind of playing random notes. But we might find little parts and phrases of it that we actually quite like. So out of this, well, I mean, delete all of that. But I'm not. Let's have a look at this again. Whatever. It's a nice little phrase. So we can keep that there as a potential idea. So do you have Ableton already? Thorleaf. Sorry if I've butchered your name, but let me know if you've got it already. That'll help me give you better advice. Right, that one's pretty basic. It's not really doing anything there. That's what we could do, actually. I go back, right? So don't forget that Ableton has sophisticated controls for modifying MIDI, right? So I could grab all of that, and I could say, actually, I want to shorten that, so I want to speed it up. Right? Maybe it's still boring. Speed it up a little bit more. Right, so it's still boring, but it's just an idea. Like, you could always go invert it. That note there's definitely. Sweet, it's like very, very basic idea that Magenta's given us in this case, but what if we... Cool, I'm not liking that one, see ya. It's looking pretty sparse too, but we could basically go through this. Yeah, beats by equation, it does. If I did it again, it would give me a completely different set of melodic ideas. Hello, Uncle Butt. How's it going, dude? Good to see you. Oh, that's low. But what we'll do is we'll just quickly get something that kind of sounds interesting. That one's kind of cool. All right, so we'll put that there. Still basic, but... we could use this one as a bass, right? So let's not go through all of them because we're going to be here all day if we do that. We're going to take this one, we're going to pop it over here, and we're going to go Serum. And I'm going to show you that you can go. Should we use the old Captain Cooked bass line? Let's see, where did I put it? User... Is this one going to sound any good? Sounds stupid already. Let's go legato. Let's sidechain it as well. We'll get it sidechained. And we need to stop that movement happening in the filter. Bypass. Right, so let's get the sidechain pumping. 1/4. bit notey. Cool, so I'll take that out. We'll just make this a bit easier to see. Cool, so we can keep following this rabbit hole and trying to get some interesting ideas out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back over to my chord progression that I've got. So we'll take that, put it here, take that, take it out, give ourselves a little bit more consistency. So I'm just going to take my chord progression. Cool. So we can keep playing with this. I'll just show you what more it can do, but I feel like I'm going to go ahead and show you how it can continue an idea along that it's created. So let's say this idea here. Let's consolidate this clip. Consolidate, and then we'll crop it. And then if we come into magenta and we go continue. So we want to take an idea and continue it. Yo, hi everybody. Oh, everybody's chatting. Whoa. We got a spammy boy. Yo to you in Indonesia. Hey Thalamus, how's it going, dude? So let's continue this idea. So it's a melody, it's a melodic idea, it's the melodic ideas, and it's the clip 5, right? So let's say that we want to make a couple variations of it. So let's go ahead and generate. There we go. Cool, so it's taken this idea that it come up with and then it's made a longer version of it. And it's made variations that we can see happening there as well. So next, I'm going to give you a demonstration of how that can be used with drum sounds. So if we pull that back down. So yeah, basically, moral of the story, use magenta to create ideas that then maybe you fine tune, because this might be a little bit play school for us. It's clearly, it's a bit play school for me, but you can go in there and you can make editing happen to it. So it's to get an idea going, right? It's to give yourself a suggestion. And if you really want to master it, you can keep going through and getting it to iterate itself time and time again so that you eventually get something that it makes it's completely cool. And then you can just say, oh, look, I didn't make this music, but the computer did, and I helped it. So anyway, let's do some beats with it. The plugin is Magenta Studio by Google. It's a Max for Live device. Okay, so let's get a beat, drum kit. That's nice. Let's do it. Cool. All right, so we got a beat pattern. Let's go ahead and make a clip. Let's go ahead and if we make a pattern, I can show you a cool feature. So let's get this rolling. We'll stop all of the other clips from playing and we'll just play this one. So we got kick. Let's go kick. Let's make a pattern. right? So I'm going to come up with an idea. And then I'm going to feed it into the... Does this kick better? Ooh. Let's just chuck some random stuff in here, really. Doesn't matter so much. Put something on 16th notes. Right, cool. That's our beat pattern, right? So, magenta, make it groove. So we click groove and we're on drums. Yep, so this is just for drums. Let's go there. Let's go slot 1. And the temperature is going to control how crazy or uncrazy it's going to be. So let's go ahead and generate something. And now we'll listen to the original again. And we'll listen to the groove. It tried. It tried. Of course, in Google's video, the examples that they give are always like amazing sounding. Let's try it again. Let's get it to groove that again. So obviously what it's done is it's moved the velocity of the kick and the djembe hits to be just really quiet, and now they're not really interplaying with the rhythm anymore. So, you know, the computer doesn't know any better. So let's give it something else. Or let's just give it to it again, rather, and see whether it's going to do a better job this time. Is it the same? No, slightly different. Let's try it. And we can come in here and we could fix this because it's just good bring. Right, so original. So it's trying to add groove to this pattern and to make it more human feeling, more groovy. It's in the name. So it doesn't seem to be wanting to do a very good job of it though. And I feel like my straight pattern sort of sounds more interesting than... Cool. All right, let's go ahead and do the other one, Drumify. So we can go ahead and select the same clip again. We can go ahead and select the clip slot number 1 and generate a pattern out of that. And And you know what I could do? Is I could say, all right, that idea didn't come out exactly the way that I think it should. It's destroyed the rhythm in my opinion. But what I will do is I'll keep what it's done with the percussion. Right? Because maybe I'm making an electronic beat, something that sort of needs to be rigidly in time. But I could take an element and swing it out of time like this. So I could come back to my original clip. I could delete the percussion, see a percussion, and I could drop their grooved version of it there. All right. So no matter whether we think that the outcome was, you know, not ideal, there may be something in it that leads to the suggestion of a new idea that we can basically just take something out, borrow it, and use it in something else. So we've got random drum pattern. What else can Magenta show us? We can, we've generated, we haven't interpolated yet, but I feel like we don't have very good very good melodic ideas to take further. So for now, I am going to move on to the next part. So I've got this chord progression playing, right? Made this earlier. Put a kick drum to it. So here, we're still going to be doing or making generative. We're still making use of the idea of generating using the equipment at our hands. So we are not going to write an accompanying melody to go with this, but we are going to use inbuilt devices inside of Ableton in order to do that. So the MIDI is committed after the generator. Yep, that's right. So basically the algorithm creates a pattern and it ejects the clip with the groove already in it. Yeah, Lemon Me, you're not wrong, dude. But, you know, the purpose is to show you that these things are possible, not necessarily to have it sound amazing. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with this melody. So, you know, I'm going to create a new MIDI clip. We'll drag it and we'll drop it over here. And we're going to go melody, right? And I'm going to grab an instance of Serum. And I'm going to just put a nice lead sound that I've got here. Let's put that guy. So we'll take the chord progression, right? So at the moment, we're just hearing this channel with the chords on it. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a MIDI effect, right? So everybody knows what an arpeggiator is, or they should know. But how can we take chords and make melodies out of them? Well, very straightforward. Hello, Morpheus. I am collaborating with ADSR. So my name's Andrew and I run a YouTube channel called Collective Intelligence. And they asked me to come and do a little bit of live streaming. So here we are. We're just making the use of Ableton and all of its cool features. So let's continue. So I've got the arpeggiator and I popped it on here. I'm not going to change anything else, but just change the rate. And already we've got a chord. So the chord, you know, everybody says you start writing music with a chord progression, right? And this is traditionally the approach that's taken, let's say, outside of electronic music. Because well, no, actually, that's incorrect to say. Let's say outside of the way that I write music traditionally. And I'm slowly changing the way that I write my music, and I'm starting to use chord progressions. So I use a plugin called Scalar, and I pick a collection of chords that are in the key, which in this case is G minor. So G minor scale is what I'm using, and then I'm using chord notes inside of that. And I want to take these chords and then generate melodic ideas out of them. So here we go by using the arpeggiator, and we're going to play it. Right, so that's it playing in isolation. Let's play it with the pads. Okay, so that's straightforward. You're all saying, well, that's just pretty easy, just chucking an arpeggiator. There's heaps more that you can do that's interesting. For example, grab another arpeggiator and we'll keep that playing. Let's go ahead and loop it. Come back just to this idea. Turn it up again. right? So I can start making very interesting rhythmic patterns using 2 arpeggiators in series. If I put that on 16ths, let's chuck a delay on there. Or open up the gate on the arpeggiator to let more sound through. Cool. So that's what we got without the 2 arpeggiators. And we may never write MIDI in this fashion, but using the effects to make ideas, all of a sudden we're using 2 arpeggiators in series and we're getting a very interesting pattern happening. Cool. And what we can do is we can then go and grab LFOs. And we're going to start using a lot of LFOs. So let's go ahead and chuck the LFO on the rate. Let's lock it so that it's sort of in time. We can set up a minimum and maximum value. So how far it's going to go in the positive or negative. So if we bring the bottom value up, it's not going to go all the way up to those extreme values of 128, right? So we can decide, okay, how high do we really want it to go? So we can control the movement. Let's bring that up just a little bit more. Can that turn device on and off commands? Supposedly not. So we could use an automation lane, and in this case, we can actually do it inside of the clip. So let's go ahead and go from the arpeggiator, and we can have the device on. And we could say do a little roll every so often to create variation in the pattern. So let's go ahead and draw that in. And then if we put this on a value, so let's just take the LFO off, CA LFO. Let's put it on 30-second notes just so it's consistent. So let's have a listen. There we go. Cool, so we've just got that. It's going to turn on again soon. So it's going to constantly help evolve the idea. So if we turn that off again, turn it on, let's get it. We can change the pattern to be something a little bit more different. Okay, so let's keep moving our ideas along. We've got some nice pads. We've got a nice melody playing. Let's make some randomized percussion sounds. So I'll show you some more ways that we can use arpeggiators to make a random mess of things. So if we go ahead and we grab this rack here, this is a little glitching rack. It's got a whole bunch of beeps and bloops in it. And we'll go ahead and we'll chuck an arpeggiator on. We'll double click and make a clip. And we can go ahead and draw in MIDI to fall on every single one of these notes, right? Go Control A to select them all and go legato to roll it out, right? So we've got the arpeggiator. We can set that to 1/16 as well. And it's going to play back. Right, so it's going to play through that. So what I'm going to do to start with is I will go through and yeah, cool. Should be fixed up, guys. Thanks for letting me know. Cool. So I've got this glitchy pattern happening, right? And it's just an arpeggiator. We've got all the notes. And I'm going to remove some of the notes in all of this so that we can start making a rhythm out of it. And we can add some more interesting variation into it. So let's pick ones that I don't like. That one. See ya. That one either. See ya. You're okay, but we'll turn you down, right? We'll come in here and we'll turn them down a bit. Cool. Camera's going all right? Sweet. Yeah, looks good here. Sorry about that, guys. Right. So now I've got that pattern playing. So let's get the kick going in there. And we're just using this kick as like a timekeeping factor. Like it's just giving us that 4/4 beat. So now we've kind of randomly programmed, and we can go in here and we can put it completely random, right? So now it's random, entirely random, which is pretty cool. We might like the repeating pattern of the up, right? Because it's going to repeat the same sequence over and over again. But random, I think, is kind of cooler in this case. So here we go. We got a random sequence playing super easily. So I'll go ahead and we'll take it further. We'll do more with it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and we'll grab a drum rack. We'll pull it in there again. I'm going to go ahead and find some percussion samples. So give me a second and I'll navigate to them. So percussion in here. Let's go percussion various. We don't want loops though. We just want single hits. Cool. And we're going to grab a bunch of these. So let's get 16 and drop them in on the pads, right? We can take that same arpeggiator and we can go ahead and slap it on there. And we'll go ahead and we're going to draw. We'll just take, actually, I can't do that. Just go ahead and draw this in again. Yeah, those glitches are really good. They're all glitchy. Yep. Yeah, I've used these glitches quite a bit in my music before. Okay, here we go. Right, so it's just randomly playing a sequence, right? So again, this one, see ya. This one, see ya. Oh, I don't like that one. See ya. That one's nice. See ya. And there's no right or wrong to this. I'm just taking out ones that I just don't feel. Okay, so we got that. Cool. Random. So let's get an LFO, right? Because I want to keep using LFOs a lot. I'm going to go 100% wet because we're absolutely mad. Right? So we've got the LFO controlling the time of the delay, and the delay's on repitch mode. So it's pitching things up and down, and it's moving back and forth at a rate of 1 bar. Right? So let's go ahead and... So we got some pretty wacky stuff happening there. Where's that beat repeat? So basically what I'm showing you to do is that you can just keep throwing stuff on it. That's what's brilliant about Ableton. You can just keep throwing stuff at it. Want that sound to be a little bit more crazy? Throw some more stuff at it. Throw a beat repeat on it. Why not another delay? Why not? Okay, now I wanted to try this before, so I'm going to show you guys now. Right, so we've got a bunch of random stuff happening. I wanted to try this with Comet. And I wanted... Okay, so Comet has this glide parameter that lets us go between presets, right? So, if we can, some of these are cool. That one sounds cool. That one sounds pretty cool too. Is that the one that I want to use though? How do all of our musical ideas sound together so far? How crazy does all of this sound? Might take a little bit to make all of these ideas work together, I think, guys, but... So, we've got our really random drums, right? So, let's go further. Let's go further. We've pulled them over here. They're on the timeline in the arrangement view now. Let's freeze it. Let's flatten it. Let's drag it out. Right, so this is what we got. That's a pretty sweet sound. Let's go ahead and put it on the grid like so. Consolidate that. All right, so let's make it even stranger. So we could do this two ways. I'm going to do it this way because why not? So granular synthesis, granulator. I want the granulator. So this is an Ableton Max for Live device. And we can take this audio that we've got and we can throw it inside of the granulator. And then we can go ahead and draw in a MIDI note on C3. We're using C3 because when you load something into a sampler, that's where it's going to naturally play back at the same speed. Okay. So we got that. Not very interesting. But it's very interesting when we start doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell Ableton to do it for us. Guess what we're going to use? We're going to use an LFO. Who's surprised? But it's too predictable. Let's make it random. Right. We can turn the grain up. Let's put a delay on it. Let's get another echo, because, you know, we can put that on random too. We can put this one on. Let's just pull that delay off for now, and the reverb. Let's come back to this. Let's put that on 1/4. Right, so we've got the upper limit. Let's say 80. Sounds like it's from outer space. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, it's from outer space, that's for sure. And we could add spray, but I feel like I prefer it when there's no spray. Cool, so we got that random stuff happening, and it's all been generated randomly so far, right? So let's make it into something that it's not. And we can do that. Have you guys ever played with the resonators? I really like the one that's called Berlin. All of a sudden it kind of sounds like some weird string instrument, right? So this is kind of making it almost sound as though it's like a string or a tube or something. It's giving it like a resonant sort of sound, and it's trying to say that the root note is going to be G1, and then it's giving it semitone volumes above that. So it's kind of like giving it so it almost makes it as though it's a chord. It's playing a chord. Pretty interesting. Put it on 100% to see what happens. It's really unusual, huh? But this is very unique sound design. Yeah, it sounds like a messed up cello. Somebody's like smashed it. So let's keep going. Where are we going to go to from here? The corpus is another one that kind of makes it sort of metallic or resonant makes it respond as though it's like a tube, or you can select here what you want. You can tube or pipe it. I mean, what even is that? So let's go ahead and duplicate it for preservation's sake. We'll turn that channel off, and we'll go freeze, and we'll go flatten. And now I've got all the sound design. And then we can take it to the next part. We can use Ableton's warping parameters to make it even more messed up. Because why not? And if this is something that we've got that we're like, you know, you might say like, Andrew, what the hell have you done? You've taken maybe something that could have been usable before, and you've made it like weird and metallic and resonant. And how am I going to fit this into the track that I'm making? Well, shit, man. You can gate it. Let's put a kick drum to it now. I mean, I would probably EQ some of the resonances out of it, but now we've got a really weird effect that could be set somewhere in our track, right? And if if we put a reverb on that, for certain it's going to be very interesting. So what I'll do is I'm going to make another version of it. Let's just give an example of that. We'll go back to Comet. Chuck Comet on there. All right. Put Comet on 100% wet. Just pull that down a bit in volume. Personally, I think that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and make another one. Let's go ahead and consolidate it. Actually, I want the version of it that's not chopped up with the beats mode. So let's take this one downstairs, delete that one there. So I'm just going to quickly do another little trick to it that I think could be quite cool. So freeze. And then flatten, and then reverse. Dystopian synthwave. Sweet. Yeah, I really like it in reverse too. So these are very unusual sounds and textures that you could use in your music. But obviously, you're going to make something that's pretty unique to you. So you're never going to end up with the same result as me. But yeah, what happens if we put the drum boys on this? Why should I take that? Where are we? Where am I? Drum boys, there. Back to arrangement. Yeah. See, this works behind those drums, in my opinion, quite nicely. If I take all that off. That's really cool. Cool. All right. So there's some rabbit hole sound design for you using generative ideas. What more can we do? Let's do a bit more before we finish up. I reckon we got some more in us. So let me have a little bit of a think about what we could use next. So let's have a look at these MIDI effects. We got note length. We can use note length. Can we use arpeggiator and note length together? That's the question. Or does arpeggiator dictate the note length? Let's have a look. So this is an active exploration between us now. So let's check it out. And if you guys have got some suggestions for what I could try and do, shout it. You like that? Bap. Bap. It does work. Ooh la la. But at the end of the day, it's kind of doing what the gate's doing, isn't it? More or less. Let's try something else. We got a random, we got a pitch, we got a velocity, we got a velocity here. We will put the velocity on the volume. Okay, cool. Yeah, sweet. Let's do it with the velocity. So we got velocity and we got an arpeggiator. Let's go ahead and put an envelope on this sound. So we're using Serum here, guys, by the way. If you don't know what Serum is, you should. Okay. And make sound. And make sound. We've lost it. And we're back. All right, so actually pull that down. Yeah, cool, that's working. And where did I get lost? Right, cool, so that's working. Right. Cool, so then if we pull the decay, and I'm doing that on the wrong parameter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the velocity on the decay control. Right, so now what we're doing. Oh, wait, I'll just catch up with the chat. Who said that you can put the random velocity as well and put the pitch device and put an LFO there? Yeah, man, we can do all of that. Thanks. I'm not sure. Can you make notes overlap by increasing note length after the arpeggiator? Let's find out, mate. Okay, so, right, let me explain what I've done here because I was sort of messing around as I was doing it. So we have an arpeggiator playing 16ths. It's not doing anything else. It's just gating and playing it in 16th note pattern, right? And then what we got is we got the gate at 100%, so it's letting a lot of the sound through. And then we got a velocity following that. And we got the velocity on random sending information to the decay, right? So sometimes we're getting quite long sounds, and sometimes we're getting short and sharp sounds. So that is based off where that random velocity parameter is landing. Right? So it's just random. Now what we could do is we can, so before we were making random things happen inside of Ableton with Ableton devices and that sort of thing. Now what we could do is we can make some random stuff happen here. So we're always sending it inside of Serum. We're always sending it random notes from the arpeggiator, right? So if we go note on random, every time the note comes in, the filter registers at that as a new note, and then it is randomly changing the cutoff filter amount based upon that. Right? So now we've got that changing. We could make a whole lot of things respond to that. All right, so note on random for the wavetable. We need a cool sounding one. Fred likes bass. I typically like this. Cool. All right. Let's turn it up. So next what I can do is I can get a filter. I'm going to show you. So we do this a lot in the psytrance scene. A lot of this is done so quite often. So if I put the cutoff all the way down and we go note on random, it's always selecting different points for these cutoff and formant parameters. Right, we'll drive it a bit to give it some volume. We'll give it a bit of resonance. We'll get the distortion on there. We'll put the velocity on the drive amount as well. Right. Now, what if we actually tell the arpeggiator to play some melodic stuff? What we could do actually is, if we really wanted to make the sound design work with the rest of our quote unquote track, we could go ahead and grab the melody, and we can use the melody that we were originally working on for the track, and we can use that. So why you know work? Why you know work? Doesn't like that. Don't know why. MIDI comes in once, but then it stops. Let's just build it. Let's build the chord. G. And then 1, 2, 3. So that's a. Yeah, that's working. Cool. And then is it C sharp? No. What's totally frozen, Lemon? The stream's still working fine? Okay, cool. So now we've just drawn in that chord, the G minor chord, and we've put that on our somewhat, well, it's completely random sound. So it's random wavetable, random filter position, random distortion, random everywhere. And now it's playing, like it's playing melodically because we just put the chord on it. Right, and now I do want to show you guys a bit more before we end it today. So I think I've still got a bit of time. So I want to show you some other ways to take these random patterns that you're making, sort of shape them a little bit more toward your will. So I really like Shaperbox. This is Shaperbox made by Cable Guys, and this allows you to shape your sounds. So at the moment, I'm going to volume shape it, right? And I'm going to go quarter note length, and I'm going to sidechain it. Right, so now if I got that kick playing, if we grab our pads and just pull them over as well, we can get our nice vibe going. Cool. And did we end up making the bass in the right sort of way? Yeah. Let's pull that over as well. Okay. So okay. So let's just quickly stop it from being so crazy with this drum pattern. So we're putting all the ideas that we just made together. Cool. So we've got the pads. This is what I made beforehand. We've got our kick drum. Right. Now we got our bass. We've got this random sound that we've generated. And it's playing the chord of G minor. So it's going to work with all of the other sounds that I've already prearranged, right? We've got this sound that we use, kind of acting as a bit of a pad or atmospheric reinforcement in the track. Sounds almost a little bit like something's breathing. Nice. Right, so then let's see how we can make our drum pattern work. So let's go back to Shape a Box that we were about to kind of take a deep dive into. So I'm gonna go ahead and gate the drum pattern as well. And we're gonna do it with a tighter gate on this one. Right, and we can do a bunch of other things with this. So we can crush the sound. So we can use a bit crusher across a period of time. I don't know whether that's going to work, but it sure is fun to make, right? And then if we go ahead and go auto filter and yeah, we can grab another LFO and we can just have this moving around in the background, you know, and we might actually change that. So the pan should be a slower rolling pan, right? It should be, needs more glide, huh? Yeah, sounds intense. Don't know whether that's good or bad, mate, but intense is good, I suppose. Yeah, like I said, this was not necessarily how to make sounds that, or how to make things that are going to instantly become a track, but more like how to just generate ideas if you're lacking them. Cool. Grab our glitchy hats that we made. Yeah, we might avoid the glider, the wider session today. We might not go mad with widers. Cool. How's this sounding? Cool. So I really like to sidechain almost everything in my track. So I use Shape a Box to do that almost always. So back to Shape a Box, back over here, 1/4 timing, pump that guy, put it on about 75%. Now it'll pump around the kick. Did we ever end up with that melody sound? Yeah, we did. What happened to that? Come back. Come over here. Cool. All right, guys. Do you have any questions about anything that I was doing just now? Because if you do, shout them out and I can go into depth and I can focus on answering the question. So, yeah, if you guys do have any questions, shout them out now. I'll wait about 5 minutes and chat to you guys for a little bit and then we'll end the stream. So hopefully there was some stuff in there that kind of inspired you a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll kind of address a conversation that I can see is happening in the chat. So yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine how this sort of mangling of sounds will work in a traditional style of music. But typically, I think my audience and ADSR's audience are typically electronic music producers and a lot of people making, let's say, psychedelic bass music or psychedelic music of some type. It doesn't even have to be psychedelic. This could really work. So Dezu's asked me mixing, please. So if you want to go into, a little bit more detail on exactly what you'd like to know, I can try and really quickly tell you something about that. But you got to understand that mixing is a really huge topic. So it'll be difficult to cover anything with sufficient depth. Yeah, Dezu, I don't mean to ignore the question at all. I just need a little bit of direction on what exactly you want me to answer with that. Do I generate on the fly on the gigs? No, when I perform, I have all of my pre-made tracks ready to go. I don't do this sort of thing on stage. I know that some musicians will perform with modular synth setups where they may sequence randomized sounds. So people will do it. Yep, Ed, you could totally use Ableton to generate chords for you, man. So if, for example, you've got access to the Ableton push, you're able to use the push in a way where it's scale locked, and that will give you just the chords in the scale, and you can play it. Yep, this is Ableton Suite. Yeah. Yeah, so you've got MIDI effect devices in Ableton that offer chord and scale locking. So yeah, it's totally possible that you just go ahead and use that instead of scalar. It's not an essential plugin by any stretch of the imagination. You can get a lot achieved just with Ableton by itself. And that's, as a beginner, really all you need. You'll see me using a lot of plugins and that sort of thing. But this is, typically because after a long time I've used all the Ableton devices and I kind of want to explore other creative possibilities, and those other plugins allow me that. Stefan, Cable Guys is the company that make the plugin called Shaperbox that I was talking about before. So Shaperbox lets you basically modulate things over time. Cable, okay. Sweet. All right, guys. So finally, my name was Andrew, and I come from a YouTube channel called Collective Intelligence, and we specialize on a lot of Ableton introduction topics, but we also go into the more psychedelic sort of sounds. And I live stream every week as well. You can watch me make my tracks from start to finish. And ADSR reached out to me and asked me whether I'd like to come and present something to you guys. So hopefully this was useful. Hopefully you guys take a lot out of it and it inspires you to go on and create. Don't forget that there is no right or wrong way to create a piece of music. There is your way to create a piece of music. And Vero, I'll answer your question before I sign off. My favorite plugin, damn man, it's a good question. I reckon it would have to be Shaperbox. I really like Shaperbox. It's versatile, do a lot of stuff with it. Smooth interface, it's really nice. Cool. All right, guys, take care. And I'll see you again very soon. Come over to my YouTube channel if you want to see some more. Take care of yourselves. Peace.